But the fact that the fluid doesn't behave like a normal fluid, and in fact flows awkwardly, doesn't penetrate the cloth, and in some cases appears to flow in reverse against gravity, that's pure fraud. The other thing is his ring bounces off of his ring finger onto his pinky finger, and then at some point disappears, then maybe ends up back on his pinky finger. That is pure computer-generated image, CGI. So anyway, that was my attempt to make this as short as possible. But anyway, I'll show you the images and the clips and do whatever you want. But the larger concern here is that this is major international government level fraud, and probably predicts that we're about to get hit with a lot more of this. And then with all the surveillance, anybody who talks bad about it will be, censored. So that's the world we have now.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
I'm still whooping all throughout the town. Gonna let them know I don't fuck around. I whoop that ass.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Vasquez here. Today I'm just going to provide the shortest video possible on this topic that we've all seen now circulating throughout the so-called news sphere. And a good teacher and somebody who likes to talk too much typically likes to construct things, like starting from the basics of what we know and then kind of extending that. And that's usually how I end up talking about things. But in this case, I'm just going to try to keep it basic for the sake of speed, because I think that the evidence speaks for itself, and I'm going to show you that evidence. I'm going to focus on two things. So, and we could talk about other pieces of data, but I think these two pieces of data are sufficient to decode the latest international fraud. So I would not have agreed with what I'm about to say 2 days ago. And then yesterday, I saw enough evidence to clearly change my opinion on this topic. And so that, of course, reminded me of part of Nietzsche's book, Zarathustra, where he says, and this is a perfect quote for this. For those of you who are kind of resistant to what I'm about to say, this is a great quote. He says, the man of knowledge, the person of knowledge, must be able not only to love his enemies, but he must be able to hate his friends. So I want you to think of like your perspectives as your friends. Like you have an idea, you have a concept of something, you saw something on the internet and you believed it. So you have befriended that idea, just like I befriended this idea, which I'm now unfriending. So, in Zarathustra, Nietzsche talks about friends, but he's not simply talking about like friendships with the people. He's talking about anything that you like, anything that you're affectionate towards, or anything that you have an emotional connection or investment with. You have befriended that idea, or you have befriended a certain religion, or you have befriended a certain political party or a politician or whatever. And in a sense, for that friendship to have any value, you have to be able to let it go if that's, what becomes necessary. Otherwise, you're just a slave to your own emotions and your own connections. So again, he says, the man of knowledge, and that could be translated a few different ways. I realize I'm babbling already, even though I said I was going to try to keep this short. That's just the way I am, so take it or leave it. Again, he says, the person of knowledge. I suspect that he could have also said the person of freedom in a certain way, or the person who wants to be fulfilled and free, must not only be able to love his enemies, but you must be able to hate your friends as well. So that's on page 78 of this particular edition, which apparently I read from cover to cover when I was about 24 years old. So again, what I'm about to say, some of you might hate it. You may, like I hated what I'm about to tell you because I saw somebody say this and I thought this is just bullshit and I'm sick of the drama. And so I blocked that content. And then yesterday, I kept reconsidering this because it never made sense from the start. It never made full sense. It made a little bit of sense. And you got to remember the other thing. Your brain wants to make sense of things. So if they show you a video of something, your brain is going to try to understand it as if it's real. Especially if it has like an emotional component to it. You could already be bought into it even before you've seen the evidence. So they'll tell you what they want you to think. They'll put you'll have some type of emotional connection with that, whether you want to or not. And then they'll show you evidence, and then your brain will interpret that evidence because the stage is already set for you to believe whatever this thing is. And I think that's what happened to a lot of us. So again, I didn't have this line of thought a few days ago, even though something wasn't quite right. And then I saw evidence yesterday that was totally revealing. And then I saw another piece of evidence, excuse me. I saw another piece of evidence last night in a video format, and I'll show you a little bit of that video, but let me get to it real quick after that long introduction. I'm going to focus on two things in this conversation. I'll show you the evidence. I talked about it in a post that I made last night, but I'll connect all that together so you have it all on one page. But to decipher this psychological warfare, you have to focus, you can focus on a lot of things, but you can at least focus on two things. You have to focus on the fact that his wedding ring, which was here and is here in many other photos, his wedding ring, which was here, is there. It's on the appropriate ring finger, and then it jumps to his pinky finger, and then I think at one point it completely disappears. But you'll see in the clips of the video, and I looked at the video again last night at 50% speed, slow motion, and I took the screenshots myself of the video. He has a ring, he has his wedding ring, he has a big gold wedding ring on this finger, and then in the middle of the event, it jumps to this finger. Why? Because it was artificial intelligence, and the computer glitched and jumped his ring from this finger to this finger. The other thing, which I had seen, and I wasn't quite comfortable with it, but I was willing to accept it, because of maybe the lighting or the color or whatever. When the impact occurred, I guess, let's see, it was on this side of him. When the impact occurred in this region, you could see a lot of fluid gushing out, but a lot of fluid. And that was an impressive amount of fluid. Remember, you're talking about an artery here that's certainly not big. It's not even as big as your finger. It's maybe pinky size, maybe. But the lumen, the hole inside that would be even smaller. So the amount of fluid going through that would be limited. I mean, this isn't just like the endless fountain of, free flow here. We are talking about the circulation to the head and neck. So you've got a carotid artery here, a carotid artery here, behind this muscle, sternocleidomastoid. So, and then you've got two vertebral arteries in the back that are embedded in bone. And so those are irrelevant to this conversation. We're talking about the carotid artery on the left-hand side, which apparently, supposedly was penetrated, and then just gushed out all over his shoulder and all over his shirt. Well, that's not how blood actually flows. You'll notice in the video that was provided, which I have to say now is fake. So when I show you the video, I'm not showing you a gross video or something that's grotesque or traumatic or dramatic. I'm showing you a cartoon. This is not real. But when they show this fluid coming out, it just flows out. It's too much volume. It's too dark. And I could let that one go, based on the color or the shade or whatever. I can let that one go. So let's say, number one, it's too much volume. But the other thing is, it's the wrong rhythm of that volume. So your heart beats. Your heart doesn't just flow like a, like a motorized pump. You can put your hand here and feel your own carotid artery, and it pulsates. So the blood flows and then flows, or it kind of squirts. It kind of squirts out of the heart, squirts out of the heart, squirts out. That's why you have a pulse that corresponds with your heartbeat, which is your heart contracting. So your heart squeezes and then opens, and squeezes and then opens. Every time it squeezes, blood gets pushed, the heart has to refill, blood gets pushed, and the heart has to refill. So it's a pulsatile flow. It's not a constant flow. When you look at the video, the flow that occurs, so first of all, we're assuming the impact occurred here. For it to flow out easily, all of this muscle, skin, and tissue would have to be out of the picture. It would have to be removed. And that's not necessarily guaranteed. If you get a dirty shot, so to speak, the artery is still embedded within the neck and wouldn't be just flowing out like a hose, it would flow inside. That's internal bleeding. It's internal bleeding from, obviously a wound, but it's not going to just gush out necessarily. It could happen. But it would be, like I was saying, it would be in a pulsatile manner. It would be squirt, squirt, squirt. It wouldn't be just flow as if you just punctured a balloon or a tire. So again, I've got maybe 5 points that I made last night. I'll repost that below this video. It's too dark. I can let that go. It's too much volume. It's too much volume. I'm more convinced of that now. It's too much volume. It's not pulsatile. It just flows out like a hose. That's not how blood flows. So it's too much volume. It's not pulsatile, and it doesn't even penetrate the cloth. Presumably his cotton t-shirt. It doesn't even penetrate. It rolls off of his clothing. Well, that's not how real blood works. So again, I'm trying to organize my ideas here. It's too much volume. It's not pulsatile. It doesn't behave like real blood would behave, which is, getting the shirt wet with blood. In the video that I saw last night, you can see that the fluid, the blood, so to speak, or the image of this dark fluid actually flows in reverse. I'll put the link and I'll put a clip of that video in this. That seals the deal that this is fraud. Real blood would flow downward and obviously penetrate the shirt, and that didn't happen in the video. So you have to trust yourself. All legitimate, advances in knowledge or self-knowledge or confidence in yourself stem from you have to trust yourself. And you have to trust what you're seeing is not real. And the other thing that's not real is how his wedding ring, which you can see in other pictures, his wedding ring on his ring finger jumps to his pinky in the middle of the event. Well, that's a computer glitch, and that also seals the deal. So, my perception of being too much volume, well, I suppose that's a little bit subjective. Somebody could say, yeah, well, you hit a main artery or whatever, or maybe he had really high blood pressure that day or something. I'm not buying it, but it's a little bit subjective. But the fact that the fluid doesn't behave like a normal fluid, and in fact flows awkwardly, doesn't penetrate the cloth, and in some cases appears to flow in reverse against gravity, that's pure fraud. The other thing is, his ring bounces off of his ring finger onto his pinky finger, and then at some point disappears, then maybe ends up back on his pinky finger. That is pure computer-generated image, CGI. So anyway, that was my attempt to make this as short as possible. But anyway, I'll show you the images and the clips and do whatever you want. But the larger concern here is that this is major international government level fraud, and probably predicts that we're about to get hit with a lot more of this. And then with all the surveillance, anybody who talks bad about it will be, censored. So that's the world